Vishnu Bhakti Pradeve Satya Namo Namaha. Vrindai Hai Tulsi Vyai Priyai Hai Keshavashacha Vishnu Bhakti Pradeve Satya Namo Namaha. Jai Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. Jai Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Vihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jai Ho Radha Madhuva Kunya Vihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Upinana Manabha Giri Balatadi
Jai Krishna Vallabha Girivaradhari
Upinana Manabha Giri Balatadi
Krishna Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yasudanandana Vraja Janarandana
Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana
Sudanandana Vraja Janarandana Munatera Manachari Yamunatera Manachari Jai Urat Umadhava Punya Vihari Jai Urat Madhuva Punya Vihari Gopinana Manava Girivaradhari Gopinana Manava Girivaradhari Yasudanandana Vraja Janarandana Yasudanandana Vraja Punatera Vanachari Yamunatera Vanachari Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Paramahangacharya, also Tada Satashi, Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantagoti, Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prince Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaur, Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna, Gopikapada, Sayam Kunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuram Ki Jai, Jagadasami Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Shivati Kalasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravati Pachani Namasesha Srinivadi Paschatati Shatardi. So we are reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam 8th Canto, 2nd chapter, text 31. Yesterday we did 30, if you remember. Okay, thank you. You made this yourself. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Itang
Ikram
Gajendra
Gajendra
Sa Yadapa
Yadapa
Sankatam
Sangatam
Pranasya
Pranasya
Dehi
Dehi
Vivasho
Vivasho
Yadrichaya
Yadrichaya
Aparayan
Aparayan
Atma
Atma
Vimokshane
Mokshane
Chirang
Chiram
Dadyav
Tadaya
Imam
Imam
Buddhim
Buddhim
Atabhya Padyata
Atapya Padya
Itam Gajendra Sad Yadapa Sankatam
Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Apariyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Aparyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Dadyavimam Buddhim Atapya Padyata
Tadyam Imam Buddhim Atapya Padayata
Itam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Idam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Apariyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Aparyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Dadyavimam Buddhim Atavya Padyata
Tadapyam Buddhim Atapya Padayata
Itam Gajendra Sadyadapa Sankatam
Idam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Apariyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Aparyanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Dadyavimam Buddhim Atapya Padyaya
Tadapyam Buddhim Atapya
Jahajata.
Padayata
Okay.
Itam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Idam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Pranasya Dehi Vivaso Yadrichaya
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Aparayan Atma Vimokshane Chiram.
Aparayam Atma Vimokshane Chiram.
Dhadyav Imam Bhutim Athabhya Padhyata.
Yadyava imam buddhim athavya padyata.
Itam Gajendrasa Yadapa Sankatam.
Itam Gajendrasa Yadapa Sankatam.
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya.
Pranasya Dehi Vivaso Yadrichaya.
Aparyanatma Vimokshane Chiram.
Aparyanatma Vimokshane Chiram.
Tatyayamam Buddhim Atapya Padyata.
Dadhavya imam
Buddhim
buddhim
Adhapya Padyata.
Itam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam.
Itam Gajendra Sayadhapa Sankatam.
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya.
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya.
Aparayan Atma Vimokshane Chiram.
Aparayan Atma Vimokshane Chiram.
Yadyavimam buddhim athavya padyata.
Dadhavya Imam Buddhim Adhapya Padyata.
Anyone? Ladies? No?
Itam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam.
Idam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam.
Pranasya Dehi Vivaso Yadrachaya.
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya.
Aparyatma Vimoksha Chiram.
Aparayana Atma Vimokshane Chiram.
Dadave Iman Buddhim Yatha Bhayapadyata.
Dadyava imam buddhim athavya padyata.
Okay. Itam,
Itam
in this way,
In this way,
Gaja Indra,
Gajendra
the king of the elephants,
king of the elephants,
Sa, he, Yada,
Yada
when,
when
Apa,
Apa
obtained,
obtained
Sankatam,
Sankatam.
such a dangerous position,
such a dangerous position,
Pranasya,
Pranasya
of life,
of life,
Dehi,
Dehi
who is embodied,
who is embodied.
Vivashaha,
Vivashaha,
circumstantially helpless,
circumstantially helpless,
Yadrichya,
Yadrichaya,
by the will of providence,
by the will of providence,
Aparyan,
Aparyan,
being unable,
being unable,
Atma Vimokshane,
Atma Vimokshane,
to save himself,
to save himself,
Chiram,
Chiram,
for a long time.
for a long time.
Dadyao
Dadyav
began to think seriously.
began to think seriously.
Imam,
Imam,
this.
this
Buddhim,
Buddhim,
decision.
decision,
Ata,
Atha,
thereupon.
thereupon,
Abhyapadyata,
Abhyapadyata,
reached.
reached.
Its translation: when the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence, and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger, he was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. So purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Everyone in the material world is engaged in a struggle for existence. Everyone tries to save himself from danger, but when one is unable to save himself, if he is pious, he then takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 16. Chatur buddha bhajanti mam jana sukritina orajuna arto gigasur artarti jnani cha bharatarshava. Four kinds of pious men, namely one who is in danger, one who is in need of money, one who is searching for knowledge, and one who is inquisitive, begin to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be saved or to advance. The king of the elephants, in his condition of danger, decided to seek shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. After considerable thought, he intelligently arrived at this correct decision. Such a decision is not reached by a sinful man. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are pious, sukriti, can decide that in a dangerous or awkward condition, one should seek the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So let me read the verse again. Itam gajendrasa yadapa sangatam panashadehi vivasho yadachaya aparyanatma vimokshane chidam dadyavimam buddhim atavya padyata. So, Omagana Timurandasha Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So this is a very important verse. This verse, and of course the verse from the Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada quotes here is 7:16, Chaturbida Bhajanti Mam, are very important insofar as our own Krishna consciousness and insofar as preaching Krishna consciousness. Two aspects. And we find many devotees, actually everyone who comes to Krishna consciousness, I'm using the word comes to Krishna consciousness, because someone who's already Krishna conscious, they're Anyabi Lashita Shinyam Gyana Karmana Vritam Anukuyena Krishnanu Shilam Bhakti Rutamam. They're already pure devotees. They don't come to Krishna consciousness. They're pure devotees, Nityasiddha devotees, and they don't come to Krishna consciousness. They are in Krishna consciousness. So anybody who comes to Krishna consciousness, they have some motive. And we should analyze in our own hearts, what is our motive? Like some people come because of money and artha. And not only does that refer to money, but material goods or material position. Like you have the example of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj wasn't not asking for money or wealth in a normal sense. He was asking for prestige and position because he was very disappointed that he could not sit on the lap of his father, Uttanapada. And his stepmother, Suruchi, said, you will not be able to sit on your father's lap unless you take birth as my son. And Suniti, his mother, it's interesting, the word Suniti and Suruchi actually means something. Suruchi means good taste. In other words, she was attractive and kept the mind of the king, Uttanapada, and Suniti means good instruction. It's interesting how you have these names, So anyway, so she said, you should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I've heard, that's the method for achieving your goal. He said, where is God? And of course, we understand Sarvatra. God is everywhere. You don't have to go to the forest to worship God, because God is also in the city. He's also in everyone's heart. Of course, in the beginning, we understand, we go to the temple, but really as we advance in Krishna consciousness, we should come to the realization that Krishna is in everyone's heart. Otherwise, we remain on the platform of Kanishta, materialistic devotee. And Kanishta does not make much advancement in devotional service. So anyway, Dhruva was advised that his mother said she heard that God's in the forest, so he went to the forest, and he met Narada. And Narada said to him, "Go back home, little boy." And, later on when you get older, you can do all this nice stuff. And he said, "I can't follow your instruction, Guru Maharaj." So it's a very interesting interaction between Narada and Dhruva Maharaj. You would say, well, he's disobeying the order of his Guru Maharaj. Not really. Because he is giving feedback to his spiritual master with proper etiquette, not offensively. He's just saying, your instructions are good, Guru Maharaj, but I can't follow them. So one should be honest. That's an interesting point. Interesting lesson that, somehow or other one can't do something. I mean, sometimes I'm approached by disciples who can't finish their rounds for there are bona fide reasons, like if a lady's taking care of 20 kids, or someone's very sick, and they just reveal their mind, or somehow or other struggling spiritually, they should reveal their mind. That's not offensive. If you can't complete, your particular promises or vows or whatever, then you should reveal your mind like that, not simply keep quiet about it, make believe that you're a good devotee. So anyway, he reveals his mind to his Guru Maharaj, Narada Muni, and he says, I can't follow it. And Narada Muni says, well, the determination of the Kshatriyas is amazing. Because it's Kshatriya. Kshatriya means passion. Brahman means goodness, Kshatriya means passion, Vaishya means passion and ignorance mixed, and Shudra means just ignorance. So the Guru has to know how to engage people according to which mode of nature they're in. If they're in ignorance, how do you engage them? So, well, you got everyone to chant Hare Krishna. But if in their ignorance, you give them some activities, like work as a car mechanic or something like that, or as artist, because in ignorance doesn't mean they're just like walking around like a dull stone. Of course, a dull stone doesn't walk around, but just like they're a dull stone all day long. But ignorance means basically they're into things with the senses. We have to understand that. They're into touching, smelling, seeing. You can tell if you're in the mode of ignorance because you really want to come in contact with, Navadware Puridehi. You want to use all the holes of your body. According to Paranjana, in the fourth canto, he would travel to his body was considered like a city, and he would travel all the gates of the city to enjoy life. Push things in, pull things out. It's a fact. Put the food in. Smell, see some sights, go see the Harbor Bridge. Since I came here to Sydney, I've seen the bridge because we've driven there, but I'm not. Tony said one time, we can help you. You can climb one of the bridges. We'll pay that. I said, what for? Go for a boat ride. What for? It's just water. So anyway, but one is very interested in seeing different things, touring the world and seeing different things, and tasting, different, every day there has to be a different type of food.
Foodies.
Yeah. Chinese, Japanese, vegetarian, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Italian, and you just want to vary the taste. Whereas one in the mode of goodness, they just eat the same thing every day. Whatever. Just keeps the body strong. Actually, in passion, they also want to have different tastes. But anyway, so that's Shudra. That's how what attracts the Shudra. So Krishna consciousness. Anyway, and then, so different varnas are attracted to different aspects. And the guru has to be expert in understanding how to engage people according to their varna. So anyway, getting back to Dhruva Maharaj, he was in the mode of passion, which is very important for a Kshatriya.
Yeah.
He wants prestige, position, material things. This natural. We don't denigrate people for that. One of the problems is when preaching, we denigrate people for having a fancy car or something like that. Instead of saying, use your car in Krishna's service, we just make fun of them. Oh, you have too many saris. Earrings. If you were actually, I remember the early days of the movement, you actually criticize people. Criticize the ladies for combing their hair or something like that. Take things out of context. Like Prabhupada would say sometimes, one of the ladies, or perhaps the lady's main business is to hair combing, taking care of hair. So you criticize people for their varna. It's not intelligent. It's not intelligent. You just say, yukta vairagya, how can you use your varna in Krishna service? So Narada Muni, upon examining Dhruva Maharaj, understood, he's a Kshatriya and pure Kshatriya. And so let's use his varna in Krishna consciousness. So therefore you should chant this mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, and you should engage in austerity. So Dhruva Maharaj, because of his determination to get what he wanted, was able to gradually renounce eating, like he would eat once a month some leaves or something like that. Then he gave that up, and then just like once a month a little sip of water, and then gave that up, and then a little bit breathing once in a while, and he gave that up. That's determination. Like Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, what? Avyavasayatmika buddhirekeha kurunandana bhavshata sarantascha. That those who are actually in Krishna consciousness are one-pointed. Ekeha kurunandana. And those who are not properly engaged in Krishna consciousness, bahushatas tvanantascha. Their consciousness is many-branched. Like sometimes you find yourself, thinking of so many things and not wanting to be Krishna conscious, or it's just like, that's in the background, I'm a devotee, but, whatever. That's my club. The Hare Krishna Club, and we meet once a week, and be with our friends once a week and dance a little bit, whatever. That's because they have many, many different things to think about. And so, so Dhruva Maharaj was not Bhoshatasvarantascha. He wasn't Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanantaya Pirtachetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Samadho Navatiyate. That's a very interesting verse too. Those are attached to opulent life and sense gratification, Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanam attachment. They're not able to fix their minds, and they don't get that Vyavasayatmika Buddhir, that one point of determination. So Dhruva Maharaj had that one point of determination. We know that after a while he saw Krishna, Vishnu actually, and he said, I was looking, he became purified from that process, and that's the point. And then he gave up that desire. It's interesting. He gave up the desire, and then he went back. Anyway, everybody apologized to him. And later on, he did become the king. So not only did he give up the desire, but Krishna later on engaged his psychophysical nature. It's not that he became a Brahmin and went to the woods and just, chanted Om Namo Bhagavate for the rest of his life. No. He became a really strong Kshatriya. In fact, he still had the mode of passion. How do we know that? Because when his brother, Uttama, was actually killed by the Yakshas, everybody knows that story? He tried to wreak vengeance upon the Yakshas, and he was killing them all. And he had to be stopped. It's not proper for the sake of one Yaksha that you have to kill all the Yakshas. It's like Maharaj Janamajaya.
Yeah.
For the sake of Takshika, killing Takshika, he was ready to kill all the snakes, and he was ready to kill Indra too. Because Indra was giving shelter to Takshika. And when Takshika didn't fall in the fire, the Brahmins started to chant the mantra, may Takshika, along with his protector Indra, fall into the fire. And he had to be stopped. About this Ashtaka, that's the whole story of Mahabharata. So basically, Dhruva Maharaj still had the qualities of a Kshatriya. It's interesting. You would think, hasn't he become purified? But that doesn't mean, purification doesn't mean that you give up your psychophysical nature. That's a very important point. You have to be engaged. Not only is your psychophysical nature utilized to attract you to Krishna consciousness, but your psychophysical nature is utilized to keep you steady in Krishna consciousness. Both things. It's interesting. So, we gave an example. So, Krishna arranges circumstances so that we do take shelter of him like he did in the case of Dhruva Maharaj. This is all Krishna's arrangement. You can't say it happened accidentally. So in the case of each and every one of us, Krishna, if we actually want to be Krishna conscious, Krishna makes this arrangement. And in some cases, it's extremely painful, like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj. I mean, Prabhupada would often quote this verse, Yashaham anagranami rishe tachanam shanai. That for those who I especially favor, I take away everything. That doesn't mean, that you got to worry about it. Krishna's going to take away everything. But we see this in many circumstances. I mean, of course, Prabhupada's life is an example. I mean, he's already a pure devotee. But in order for Krishna to facilitate his preaching mission, Krishna took away everything. His business, which Prabhupada had planned to use the money from his business in spreading Krishna consciousness. Took away his business, to take away his wife. Prabhupada made his wife so, whatever. Such a pain in the whatever. That he, an impediment in his preaching Krishna consciousness that Prabhupada did. So Krishna does that. And sometimes Krishna makes everything really nice to help us. He does whatever is necessary. Just like we find the statement, by the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru. With the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. So when one is ready, Krishna sends Guru. But also, when one is ready, Krishna sends difficulties or whatever arrangement is necessary to bring you to Krishna consciousness. So that we have many stories like that in our own past. Each and every devotee has their particular story. We were listening to one story of one devotee last night. It's very interesting how he was brought to Krishna consciousness. He actually, it's an interesting story that even he was in India before and wasn't interested in Krishna consciousness, and he wanted to become an actor in Bollywood. So he went to the one of the big directors, and he said to one of the big directors, "Can you make me at least an extra in one of your films in Bollywood?" And the director said, "I can do that in a second, but you're meant for something higher." Wow. So, so Krishna was speaking through the different person's mouths. And it was a whole elaborate history. How, then he came in contact with a devotee in, I think it was Melbourne or Sydney. I think it was Melbourne. He came back to Australia, and the devotee was collecting money. The buckets.
Yes, I do.
They're famous here.
Yeah.
The bucket devotees. Anyway, so the devotee was collecting money, and the devotee asked him for a donation. And he said, "I already gave." And the devotee questioned him, "Where did you already give?" And he mentioned some other place, and I said, "Well, I guess you did. But then you can give twice." But then the devotee started to chastise him for being proud. "Oh, you're so..." Basically, I'm paraphrasing what he said. And then the devotee brought him to the temple.
It's amazing.
He had no intention.
Yeah.
But you could see every step of what happened in his life was meant to ultimately bring him to Krishna consciousness. Looking, it's called retrospect. I mean, it's looking back.
Yeah.
you can actually see that whatever happened, even though you didn't understand it then, was to help you. And it also applies to once you're in Krishna consciousness, to deepen your Krishna consciousness. Krishna makes arrangements, and some of those arrangements are not pleasant, to help you really take Krishna consciousness much more seriously and deepen your chanting and deepen your involvement in Krishna consciousness. So, Krishna's behind everything. Now, on the other hand, even though Krishna's behind everything, we as preachers, or I hate to use the word preacher, but we as representatives of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada need to be aware of people's psychophysical nature. Now, it's interesting, Prabhupada was extremely aware of people's psychophysical nature. I mean, that's why in the beginning he just cooked all this food, opulent prasadam. Not that Prabhupada was interested in that. And some people were eating 23, 24 rotis in one sitting. Prabhupada just kept, can you imagine that?
Amazing,
I mean, you go to some temples and say, can I have another roti? No, there's no more rotis.
Half a roti.
Happens, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then Prabhupada actually said that in each and every temple, the temples should make 20 some odd extra plates and keep them worth of prasadam and keep them in case guests come. And he probably said, if no guests come during the day, then I'm sure the brahmacharis will eat it all. In the evening. There won't be any prasadam thrown away. So, Prabhupada understood this. At a certain point he even said, come to a Krishna conscious movement and we'll find you a nice wife, whatever. Not a very good reason to come to Krishna conscious, but, for some people it's just having trouble finding a wife, Join the Hare Krishna movement. Anyway, and then another time Prabhupada was asked, why so many girls being born in the Krishna conscious movement? Because there were actually more girl children being born. Prabhupada said to attract the men to come to Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was eminently very, very practical in his dealings with people and engaging people according to their psychophysical nature. And people like that. People like that. They were attracted to Krishna consciousness. And it's, a very interesting preaching strategy. When someone comes, you give them some responsibility for something. You don't just say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. You may just say that too. But you have to really engage them immediately. Here's your responsibility. You're in charge of the garden. You're in charge of the cleanliness. And then people remain in Krishna consciousness. So this is what we can learn from this particular verse here. Of course, as far as Gajendra is concerned, that was danger. Not that he wanted money, What would elephant do with money anyway? So he was in extreme danger. And Krishna, he was very attached, bathing with his wife elephants, thinking, this is really the life I'm enjoying. And then Krishna just pulls the rug out from under him. Uh-oh. I was just having a good old time, and now I may die. And so that was his impetus. Krishna, help! And we see that actually with many devotees who left Krishna consciousness, and then what happens is they discover some of my godbrothers, they left, and they developed some terminal disease. Some of them had cancer, other terminal diseases. I'm not going to mention their names. And then all of a sudden, they come back at the last minute to Krishna consciousness. They come back and they associate with the devotees and they leave in such an auspicious condition. Krishna doesn't forget them. So I see that oftentimes. When someone's in danger, then they take shelter of God. It's not pure. That's all right. We think it's all right. Kama sarva kama moksha kama dharati tivrena bhakti yogena vijja purasham para. As Bhagavatam says that whether one is free of material desires, full of material desires, or desirous of liberation. I mean, one thing when I came to the movement, I basically wanted to get the HELL out of the material world. And so, I told this story before. When I would take rest at night, I would chant myself to sleep and pray to Krishna, please kill me tonight, take me back to Godhead. Didn't work. I mean, I would chant it so enthusiastically that, I'd wrap my bead bag around my hand and sleep in that way. Yeah, very enthusiastic. Good devotee at that time.
Please take me back home.
I don't know what happened after that, but anyway, it used to be a good devotee. So, please take me back home. And it was so enthusiastic, I'd wake up in the middle of the night without even knowing about it and sleep chant, like sleepwalking. I would sleep chant. I would sit up, all of a sudden, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And my impetus was, liberation, mukti. But I didn't get it. Anyway, so here I am still, over 50 years later. So, anyway, but I don't want that anymore. I mean, who wants mukti? It's like kaivaya narakayate. It's like hell to be separated from Krishna and just liberated from the material world. So anyway, so that it really helps us insofar as how do we approach people, knowing what their needs are, apart from the four things that are mentioned here by Krishna, all these things, each one of these categories can be further subdivided into different needs that people have. The need for protection, the need for love, the need for security, the need for fun. Krishna consciousness, we offer a lot of fun to people too. We get these festivals. It's fun. People are attracted by partying. Join the Krishna conscious Prabhupada called the Sankirtan party. Right? So it's interesting, So be aware of people's needs when you approach them, when you deal with them, when you talk to them. And this way you can bring many people to Krishna consciousness rather than telling them to give up their needs, which has the opposite effect. It's short term. Okay, so any questions or comments? Yes.
In today's purport, the last sentence says those who are pious or has
Yes.
Agyata security or something, they're the ones who take shelter.
Yes. Other people get angry with God or become atheists.
Yeah, right. So I was thinking, we know that bhakti is independent, and that. So how does one in the beginning get this security? Is that
By association with devotees.
But how is it if they are not pious? How does because Krishna arranged only for those who are pious? So in the beginning of a person.
Well, what does piety mean, basically?
Yeah. So doing.
Piety means basically attracted to certain things in the mode of goodness. And so, there are people who are like that because of past karma. Because of past karma. But basically, more important is the Yatra Sukriti, that they come in contact with a devotee somehow or other and they become a little awakened. But piety, basically material piety, in the mode of goodness means you're interested in helping people, being compassionate, but you may not know how to help people. You won't know how, because of Krishna consciousness is the only way to really help people. Yeah, so you have to have some mode of goodness there. Certainly.
Eventually they come up to mode of goodness, and then they probably Krishna, if
they don't have to come up to the mode of goodness. There's people pious. I mean, it's mixed modes in the material world. So there's people pious in the mode of passion too. Dhruva Maharaj was pious. Pious means he had some background or his family. I mean, like his mother, even his stepmother told him about Vishnu. Said, if you want to take birth as my son, you should worship God. So even his stepmother, in spite of all of her bad qualities of being envious and possessive, she had some piety to her. In one sense, she actually helped Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj's mother certainly was pious. She was his Vartma Pradarshika guru. She showed him the path. So, yeah, I mean, one can come to the stage of piety through various means. I mean, just if one is intelligent and not sinful, yesham tvantagatam papam jnanam punya karmana, then one automatically comes to piety. I guess there's different methodologies that come into the stage of piety. So, okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Gurudev, if I can just on that, how when danger comes and your Krishna consciousness can deepen. I've certainly personally experienced that. But it's really, I'm not. Hakuti Maharani asks for more calamities to deepen. Or to see Krishna. I'm certainly not there.
Oh, I don't think anybody's there.
And I don't
Prabhupada
know
said not to ask.
I'm like,
Prabhupada said we
how
don't
can
we don't imitate.
No, of course, that's right. But is there a way to just stay away from those dangers and still deepen Krishna?
Yeah, voluntarily be Krishna conscious.
Yeah.
If you do it voluntarily, then you won't need the stick. There's there's Shastra and Shastra. You understand the two words?
Yeah, weapon and.
Yeah, there's a Shastra, which is the weapon, and there's Shastra, which is the instructions. So if you follow the instructions, then you won't get chastised. It's just like at work. If you do a good job at work, if you have a job, then you won't get fired. That's an impetus.
Yeah.
You can't just laze off at work. It's not like Fiji, Or India. In India, it's interesting, like Prabhupada said, that the people who have some job, the peons, Prabhupada called them, they would be sent by the boss to do something, and then they'd just go to this in Delhi. Prabhupada describes some sort of square where they go to sleep for the whole day. Yeah, I forget the name of this square or the park Prabhupada mentioned. Then they come back and the boss says, what happened?
Sleeping on the job.
Yeah, that was normal. And then, in the old days, before computers, you go into an office in India and they have, everything was piled high, these different books. Even today, when you register the property, it was like that.
Yes.
Oh my God.
These old, different books,
Yeah.
It's incredible. And the people would take 5 hours to find the right way.
Come tomorrow for the
Yeah. Now they're using computers, actually.
But if you
You get it right away.
They're exactly
Same book, this book.
Yeah.
It's in the drawer.
So anyway, you have to behave yourself at work, or else you lose your job. Or you get chastised. And if you do well, you get a bonus. Some types of work. Not all types of work. Like if you're a salesman. Like one of my disciples finances cars. Works for one of these big conglomerate banks. And he's the top analyst. Actually, it's called an analyst. It's not called a salesman. You know what an analyst is? He has financial background, so when he analyzes people's application for loans, car loans, and that generally he finds that people are buying cars above their means and beyond their means.
Not surprised.
Yeah, someone, they're just spending half of their salary on their car. Happens here too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So recently he's been assigned the Tesla division.
I was going to say Tesla's probably the reason behind some of that.
Anyway, but if he does well, he gets a bonus.
Yeah.
And those who don't do well, they get cut. Isn't it?
Yep.
Because some of the companies are downsizing. So that's the point. So if you, then you don't have to worry about Krishna chat. So that's one impetus to do nicely in Krishna consciousness. Don't do nicely. God knows what's going to happen. If I'm not attentive with my rounds, maybe I'll wake up the next morning and find a tree has damaged my house or something like that. there's no electricity. You know, these things happen. It's part of life. Okay, I think we should end class now.
Sure, we did.
Okay, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Got a lot of people watching today. A lot of people watching. It's
A lot of
pretty,
people, wow.
yeah, pretty nice.